Hi everyone, I'm Rosie and welcome to Vox Yoga. So today's video is about the voice and alcohol. And I thought I'd do this because I have a few students who I'd say they're in their late teens, early 20s. And sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I'm going out the weekend. Is it okay if I drink? Or, oh yeah, it's a shame I've got an audition on this day because it's my friend's birthday the night before. Or they'll say, oh yeah, I'm feeling a bit vocally tired today because I went out on Saturday night. And a lot of people actually wonder how alcohol really does affect the voice, and if it does, and if so, in what way. So I thought I'd put together a short video to just give you some information on how alcohol could affect your voice. And that's what I wanted to start by saying. It seems obvious to say, but you must remember that there is no one rule for anyone. Everybody's body is different, and everyone's body processes alcohol differently, and everyone's voice will respond differently. And I'm sure you meet some people who will drink a pint or two before they perform and they're absolutely fine, and others who won't go near it. You get some people who will have a horrendous hangover after 2 glasses of wine, and some people who just won't get a hangover at all. So as usual, I'll present you with the science and you can make up your own mind. This is definitely not a video where I'm going to preach at you, because I'm sure if you're watching this, you are an adult, you can make your own decisions, but it's just some things to be mindful of, be aware of as well, and then you can make the best decision for you in that situation. So really you need to think about how your body responds to alcohol, because we know that when we sometimes drink a little bit too much alcohol, we're talking about being drunk here, that it affects our ability to make choices. Sometimes maybe after just one drink, you can feel a little bit fuzzy, you maybe feel your inhibitions lower, and maybe after just one drink, you may make a different choice to what you might have done without any alcohol at all. And of course, after 4 drinks, you're probably going to make very different choices. So alcohol interferes with the brain's communication pathways, and that can alter how our brain looks, how our brain functions. It can affect things like our balance, our memory, and of course our judgment to make decisions. So we're maybe more at a higher risk of injury and possibly more negative outcomes as well in our decision making. So when this comes to performing or singing, we need to be making vocal decisions, performance decisions, how we interact with the audience, maybe decisions when we're with a whole band. So we need to be on top of our decision making. That seems like a very obvious thing to say. But if you really strip it back and say, okay, vocally, often I don't belt that note because I've been practicing it a few different ways and it doesn't feel great. I'm not there yet. However, you have a drink or two, your inhibitions are lowered, you feel a bit more confident than usual, and you go for that note in the performance, and then you haven't practiced it, and maybe it doesn't work out, and then you're going to feel negativity around that, and just little things like that can be quite easily affected with even just a small amount of alcohol. So I've mentioned we know that alcohol lowers our inhibitions. So yeah, often we can feel really confident when we've had a drink. I've met performers who will only ever perform after they've had 1 or 2 gin and tonics. I've also been to see one of my favourite bands live, and I think the singer probably drank a whole bottle of wine during their set. And I wasn't watching as a singing teacher, I was watching as an audience member, and it was a great gig. So maybe it worked for that performer. However, alcohol doesn't always just give us confidence, it can cause us to become quite anxious as well. Maybe you do make a decision that goes slightly the wrong way, and then it can cause us to feel a bit more anxious. Alcohol is also, it can be a depressant as well, and it might affect you in that way. And you really don't want to be feeling like that before a performance, audition, or when you're on stage. So you've got to think about maybe, pre-drinking before a gig, but also the day after you've drank as well. So maybe you have a performance on the Saturday evening and you drink on the Friday night. So again, it might just be 1 drink, 2 drinks, and you feel absolutely fine. You've hydrated, there we go. nothing, you feel the same. However, it could affect you in the sense that the next day you then feel dehydrated, you get a bit of a headache, or you maybe feel that anxiety or, the hangover blues, as we sometimes call it, which can then really affect your energy and your ability to perform and to voice as well. So I've spoken more about kind of the performance nature of it, but what does alcohol actually do to our voice? So I like to quote the science on this channel, and I will put a link to this study in the description box. But there was a research paper called Qualitative Analysis of Alcohol's Acute Effect on Vocal Range. So you can read this, it's only 16 pages long, but some of the key things to take away that they proved through this paper were decreased breath support due to our lower heart rates when we have been drinking. Also, decreased ease of stretching in the vibratory subsystem, so our vocal cords needing to have that flexibility in order to vibrate and make sound. Also, dehydration, which I'll talk about next. And then they proved as well that, of course, our behavior is altered, as I started off this video talking about. So dehydration, well, hydration, first of all, I've spoken about so many times about why it's important to be hydrated. And it's really thinking about how the voice works. I'll pop a quick link up to a video about that there. But essentially, our vocal cords are coming together so quickly, where, oh, my piano's not switched on. There we go. When we sing an A, I don't have perfect pitch. Our vocal cords, vocal folds are vibrating 440 times a second. So they need to have moisture around the area in order for them to function in the most efficient way and to minimize risk of injury as well. So alcohol is a diuretic. It causes your body to remove fluids from your blood much quicker than other liquids. So therefore, if you drink alcohol and you're not hydrating and not drinking water at the same time, you can become dehydrated. If you are dehydrated and you're trying to sing, just imagine your cords trying to vibrate that quickly when they're super dry. This can then, of course, mean that you might not be able to have your full range, your full vocal capacity, and as I said, it could put you at risk of vocal injury as well. Some people find that maybe the day after they've been drinking, they have a bit of hoarseness or huskiness, raspiness in their speaking voice or their singing voice. This could be for a number of reasons. Again, it might be that you've made different vocal choices when you've been drinking, speaking or singing, and therefore you've irritated the vocal cords a bit and they're a bit swollen. I actually find that one of the main things is that when we tend to drink alcohol, it tends to be at a pub or in a loud place. So we end up speaking a lot more, we tend to be socializing, so we're talking more and maybe we're speaking much louder, trying to get over background noise as well. So actually it can be a big part of it, rather than the alcohol, is actually the situation. If you have 2 glasses of wine with dinner at a loud pub, as opposed to at home when it's just with one other person, then your voice is likely going to feel quite different the next day. We maybe put it down to the alcohol, but actually sometimes it is the environment as well. And then also, alcohol is known to be an irritant for acid reflux. This doesn't affect everyone. However, more acidic drinks, everyone's triggers for reflux are different, but often more acidic drinks are going to aggravate and irritate acid reflux, which can give you symptoms like excess mucus, again, feeling of dryness in the mouth, post-nasal drip, heartburn, which is really not good for the voice. Again, I've got another video for that, which I'll link to now. So of course, if you know that alcohol irritates your reflux, then you want to avoid this around the time of a performance or a gig, or in general, if you've got high voice use at that time. So should you drink before a performance? I'm not going to tell you what to do, what not to do. As I said, I know people that do have the odd little drink before they go on stage, or maybe bands who, their singer as well will drink whilst they're on stage. It works for them. Maybe they might be putting themselves at slightly higher risk of vocal injury or making the wrong decisions, but I'm not going to tell anyone not to do it. I think that you should just be aware of how it could affect your voice. I'm sure if you are someone that drinks and you're a singer, I'm sure you've done it before. You've done it once where you've maybe had a drink and then got on stage, and you'll know how it affects you. Another thing just to think about as well, I'm sure, again, if you do drink, you'll know that some days you can have 2 glasses of wine and feel nothing at all, and other days you can have 2 glasses of wine and feel extremely tipsy, and that alcohol has affected you in a different way. So I think you can't say, oh, I'm always fine if I have 2 glasses, because it can depend on so many things. How rested you are, of course, alcohol can affect your sleep as well. How much you've eaten. So it's really, and how much water you've had as well. So there's so many factors that affect it. So you shouldn't put any rules on it, but you really should be mindful and be aware. And also think of the stakes as well. You know, if I'm singing at a big event, 2-hour solo gig, or singing at a wedding where the pressure's high, I probably won't even drink for maybe 4 or 5 days leading up to the gig, because I know that that's a really important thing. If I am just doing 2 songs at maybe a cabaret night or something, then the night before I might have a couple of glasses of wine with dinner with lots of water, and I think that's fine. So that's for how it works for my body and my voice. I'm not a doctor. I'm going to link to that study in the description box below, but always listen to your body, and if in doubt, don't drink before a performance. Because I've been there. I did it once, and I was a student, and I mean, it was fine, but I didn't like the feeling, and I did drink quite a lot, and I wouldn't do it again. But I'm not preaching to anyone. So I've linked to a few other videos through there. I've got some playlists on vocal health and things as well, so I'll pop that on my end screen. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this, don't forget to hit subscribe for more.